So here we are. Arjun's confusion about sannyas ashram, not ashram, sannyas yoga or karma yoga. Which is the one that I should be practicing? In fact, he didn't say which is the one he should be practicing. He said, which is the one that is best? Make up your mind and tell me. So we were at verse number 7 is where we stopped, but I am going to read chapter 5, verse number 6. So if you have your books, you may move to 5.6. Bhagavan says, Sanyasastu mahabaho dukhamaptumayogatah. It is very attractive to see sannyas from a distance and say, oh, how wonderful, maybe I could be a sannyasi. But Bhagavan says, Yoga yukto munir brahma nachirenadi gacchati. It's not the easiest part of contemplation. The path actually of a harmonized man is hard to attain. Dukhamapto mayogatah, hard to attain. So don't go by the outward attraction of it unless you are ready for it. That was number 6. And following that, in number 7, Bhagavan said, Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha. Jitendriyaha, आपने अपने इंद्रियों को, सेंसेस को अगर जीता हुआ नहीं है, जितेंद्रियः, which means at your own free will, you imagine that at your own free will, you have entered the world of bhog, indulgences, of gratifications and enjoyments. Bhog. At your own free will, exit it if you can. That is the challenge that Krishna is throwing to Arjuna and saying, if you can do that, then sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate, then you can do anything in the world. You can be a professor or a charioteer or any piece of work that you do, kurvannapi na lipyate, will not taint you. That is the only condition. And that's where we had stopped. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma, because the biggest secret of Vedanta is that you are Atma. Okay, if that is so, then in verse number 8, we need to know who is that, who is doing the action. If I am Atma, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, then who is doing the action, and more important than that, who is actually receiving the phal or the result of that action? That is the mystery. So, number 8, chapter 5, verse 8. Naiva kichit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavita paschan shrunvan spashan jignan ashnan gachan swapan shvasan. Pashnan shrunvan sprishan jignan. All the actions, the normal bodily actions of Pashyan, seeing, Shrunvan, hearing, Sprishan, touching, Jignan, smelling, Ashnan, eating, Gachan, going, etc., etc., etc. All the actions are being done, of course, by the body, but you are beyond that. You are actually Naiva Kinchit Karomiti. The Atma says, I am not touched by all those actions. You may do anything in the world, pap karma or punya karma. I am not touched, but I am the witness. Which means, even when you are in deep contemplation, you will notice that you can watch, like a witness, like a sakshi, you can watch the movement of your own thoughts. Right now, my thoughts are going into some kind of conflict, or some kind of pleasure, or some kind of event or experience. I can watch. That's because I am apart from my thoughts. I am apart from my mind. Only if you are apart can you watch. Can you be aware of it? So that watcher, that viewer, that sakshi, that witness, who is that? That is you. So you are apart from everything, even your karma. So even the karta and the karma are apart from you. You are only a witness. That's like the ocean, which said that, oh, I can see the waves and all the high tides and low tides, Yeah, but deep down, I am just a deep ocean, a silent, deep ocean. I'm not touched by it. And also, the example given in Panchadashi, as I told you, is that of a Natya Deepam. The Natya Deepam is the stage light which lights up the stage when a play is going on. And that Natya Deepam says, I'm only a witness. I don't care if the play is bad or good, or it shows violence, or it shows divinity. How do I care? My job is one. My job is to light up the stage, the drama. So all these actions that we are doing, the body, the mind, by themselves they cannot act. They need a light. They need an electricity. Every appliance that you have in the house, they don't run on their own. They have the right equipment and the switches and the wiring. Yes, but they all need electricity to power them, to run them. So also our mind, body, and intellect. It's a fine equipment, but without the electricity, it's not going to run. And therefore, that electricity or that Natya Deepam, that stage light, is only performing one function. And Atma says, please do not blame me for any of your actions. They are all your own. This is a state of mind which comes to a very, very highly elevated people, Only very highly elevated people can experience this, because we ordinary people like Arjun and you and me and all of us, we are so closely identified with this body and the workings of the mind and the likes and dislikes of the mind. I like this, I don't like that, I prefer this, I don't prefer that. My preferences, my inclinations, my likes and dislikes become my personality, and therefore I identify only with that personality. And I think that is the true me. So when it is really tough for ordinary people like us to identify with something else other than this mind, body, intellect, and aham, plus aham, I must add, then what to do? So Krishna says, okay, fine, I understand. Now you have to just detach yourself slightly from all the workings of the mind, body, intellect. How? Through Karma Yoga. And therefore, the only and only purpose of Karma Yoga is to make your mind shuddh, to cleanse the mind, to keep it clear of all this, because it's not that we are just attached to the mind, body, intellect, and aham. This attachment is causing all the agitations and afflictions, you see. So manishuddhi is to be free of those afflictions. So we are back to Karma Yoga. Why is Krishna ji back to Karma Yoga? Because Arjun and you and me are exactly in that spot, and he has already mentioned in verse number 7, please don't even look at sannyas right now. That's not for you. And you will end up talking to the plants and dogs if you're left on your own in a high mountain retreat where you have all the time in the world to contemplate and to meditate and to go into dhyan and dharana and samadhi. No. You are not going to be there for long. Your mind will run or you will run away. So, Arjun, just come back to Karma Yoga. Start at the bottom rung of the ladder, and once the mind is completely shuddha and cleansed, and we have already mentioned what that cleansing is, that nothing in the world disturbs the mind with kama, krodha, madha, lobha, moha, then it is a cleansed mind. Okay, then what should I do? So number 9. Pralapan vitsrijan grihnan nimishan nimishannapi indriyani indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. So all the actions, that is speaking and even letting go or holding or letting go or seizing or opening or closing of the eyes, all the normal actions are done by the body and the senses. And where are these senses? These senses are merely moving about in the world of objects. Just think, do any of these sense organs turn inward to be able to see the quality of your mind, the texture of the thoughts, to see what is going on in the mind and to analyze it? Intellect does the work of analyzing, or to check out the feelings. Right now, if I'm feeling very nervous or uncomfortable or disappointed or frustrated, can I watch it? Can any of your senses watch it? No, your senses don't have the capacity to see the subtle mind and the subtler intellect. Why? Because the senses are gross. They are more and more sthul. So the sthul cannot reach the sukshma. As simple as that. So in order to reach that highest truth, which is the most sukshmatar, which is the subtlest, you have to go even beyond the subtlest mind. And the mind also has to be made more and more refined and subtle and sophisticated to reach that highest truth. In simple terms, my mind is made up of subtle body, which is called Sukshma Sharir, but it is vicharing meaning vicharta hai, it is dwelling in all the senses, and my senses are dwelling in all the sense objects of the world. So by definition, my mind has also become very heavy and sthul and gross. Although it is a sukshma sharir, it has become gross. And therefore, if I pull it away, and it's only the mind and the intellect which can reach the sukshma. So, what do I do with this mind which is dwelling in the senses? So, there are different schools of thought. So, if you go to Patanjali Yoga, that is the Ashtanga Yoga school of thought, they will say, yes, there is only one way, do dhyan, and in that yogastha chitta vritti. That means you have just one thought and you do dhyan, chitta vritti is controlled. Yogastha chitta vritti nirodha. That is the recommendation of Ashtanga Yoga. If you are following the Yoga Marga, then you go into the cessation, the complete stopping of the movement of the mind. Very tough call. I don't think the mind is equipped to be completely still. So when Patanjali Yoga recommends this, then we say, okay, what are the other paths that I can follow in order to quieten the mind, which is actually dwelling mindlessly and helplessly and recklessly in the world of objects through my senses. So Bhakti Yoga has another solution. So Bhakti Yoga says, oh, okay, no problem. You cannot do dhyan and dharana and single pointed focus of the mind. Why don't you take up an Ishta Devata? So any Devata that makes your mind thrill with his Leelas, any god. That is, it could be Krishna, it could be Shiva, it could be Ram, it could be Hanuman. Just take, or Devi, just take one Ishta Devata, personalize that consciousness into a Devata, and dwell on that Devata and use that Devata or Devi as a medium of focusing your mind, your emotions. You know, Mirabai and Kabir and all, they didn't use only the mind, only the intellect to say, yes, I am focusing, this is my ritual. They were actually in love with the gods that they were worshipping. That is including the emotions of the mind. So mind, the emotions and intellect, when they get completely absorbed and you're in love with the God, that's why Rumis and Sufi philosophy, when they speak as if they're speaking to their lovers. And therefore, when you see beautiful poetry about Krishna, it looks as if these are love poems. That's because they have now focused their emotions and their mind on the Ishta Devata, and so they have divinized that worship. Worship itself is divine, of course. Okay, Bhakti Yoga. Some people don't have a taste for it. Acha, theek hai. So third path is that you can still reach the Manishuddhi or cleansing the mind through Advaita, Jnana, Jnana Yoga. And in that Jnana Yoga, what is the method? Only one. That you convince yourself of that only truth, that I am Brahman, and there is only one underlying oneness. The ground of man is the ground of God. That's what has been said by one of the philosophers, Eckhart, in Germany. Can you convince yourself? You can follow the Advaita Vedanta technique, and then when you say that all the pleasant things and all the unpleasant things in the world and in my mind and in my body, whatever is going on, is just a wave in the mind. Even pain is just a notion of the mind. You have to choose. Now each one looks tougher than the last one. The first लगता है अच्छा ये टफ है. पतंजलि योग में कहा गया है कि you just focus on one thing and the stillness of the mind. योगस्थ चित्त वृत्ति निरोध. हमारा चित्त जो है उसको एकाग्र कर लो. some सोचते हैं अच्छा कोई easy method होगा. But here it's not easy or uneasy method. It is what goes with your personality, with your predilections, with your aptitude. That's why aptitude tests are given even before you enter any college or profession. So take your pick. But man shuddhi is a prerequisite, it's a precondition. Without that, we are not climbing to the second ladder. Finished. Therefore, so it could be bhakti yoga, it could be the yoga or the dhyan marg or the gyan marg. And once that man shuddhi or the chitta shuddhi has been attained, then only we can proceed on the path of karma yoga. Of course, karma yoga is the last path given when we find that these other paths are looking a bit tough. So karma yoga. Now you may say it's easier, but let's see whether it actually proves to be easier. Number 10. ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा. So all actions can be done because we are grihastha, we are professionals, we have families, we have the sansar, and we have to do artha and kama, which means pleasures, and earn our living. All that is karma. And nobody is asking us to escape that karma. The idea is, he's saying if all these actions can be done, karmani sangam tyaktva, without attachment to them, and we have already heard this before in chapter 3, without attachment can you do it. Now, what are we attached to? We are attached to, basically I understand, we are attached to our habits, the habits of the body, the habits of the mind. We react and act in ways which we have been used to doing. We are attracted and dispelled or have a distaste for those things which we have been in the past habituated to being attracted to or have a distaste for. It's just a mental habit. So there are 3 levels. Even of karma there are 3 levels. At the first level, what are we doing? At the first level, we are not even aware that out of habit we have become criticizers or complainers or comparers, comparing to this and that, and complaining about this and that, holding grudges and complaining without realizing. And I'm sure you've come across people like that. We can get drawn into it very easily if we do not avoid their company. The thing is that they have not been watching where their mind is going. You can do karma even through the mind, and whatever you do with your mind, basically remember, the mind is doing to you. What you are doing with your mind, the mind is doing to you. What does that mean? It means that at the end of that great practice, you will only end up becoming an excellent criticizer, a wonderful comparer, and a deeply angry person and deeply frustrated person. Whatever you do, you become deeper and better and more excellent at it. So you will become an excellent cribber. So don't allow the mind to get there. The first thing is, I'm talking about detachment. Detachment has very, very simple steps for each one of us. Otherwise, it's easy to read the word detachment and say sangam tyaktva. Attachment ko tyag do, tyaktva. But how? When I'm not even aware what I'm attached to. I'm attached to simple bad habits of the mind and the body. Second level is, okay, so if I am going to detach from these bad habits, first by watching and observing and realizing, I'm attached to the wrong things, I want to move to the next tree or to the next branch, and I still need to, I'm like a monkey in the air, I need to hold on to some other branch if I let go one branch. And therefore there is sadhana, seva, satsang. So I look for company, I look for the companionship, I look for groups, I look for some kind of organizations or sects or sects, SECTS, or groups where people are practicing sadhana, seva, satsang, and I just get into it and I say, okay, here I am. And slowly the mental habits begin to change. But the third level of karma yoga, you can call it karma yoga because this is a hard practice of the mind first, is to say that I am doing karma for moksha. Whatever I am doing is for moksha. At the first level, what am I doing? I am doing karma, but I am doing just for selfish reasons and just to get some selfish gains. That is also karma, but it's not karma yoga. And I am doing it at the end becoming restless. Second level, also I am doing karma by doing swadhyaya, seva, studies and satsang. Oh, that's also karma. And that is to purify the mind. And the third and the highest level of karma yoga is whatever I am doing in my personal or professional or spiritual life, it is only and only for moksha. It's only and only to realize my true nature. When we come to that level of action, then it doesn't matter what we are doing. Then it's simply that the goal becomes so very, very clear. एंड देयरफॉर ही सेज लिप्यते न सपापेन. ऐसे लोगों को जो थर्ड लेवल ऑफ कर्मयोग पर पहुंच गए हैं, जो हर कर्म को जो भी कर रहे हैं, चाहे घर सफाई कर रहे हैं, चाहे नेबर्स की मदद कर रहे हैं, चाहे अपने अकाउंटिंग बुक्स देख रहे हो, इट मे लुक लाइक अ ड्रेयरी secular job, but they have learned to divinize every bit of their work by keeping the ultimate goal in mind that I am Atma. And or if they are in the bhakti path, then you say I am doing this for you God, and this is all arpan to you. They are divinizing it, and therefore lipyate na sapape na, unko na पाप न पुण्य कोई भी चीज उनको लिप्य उनको लगती नहीं है. That means it doesn't attach to them. Therefore they are, this metaphor is a very common metaphor in the Hindu scriptures. Padmapatra mevam bhasa, like a padmapatra, like the lotus leaf, which is grown in water, and it is actually surviving in water, and it may even go back to the water when its life is done. But while it is living, it remains above the water, and it does not allow the droplets to touch its surface. If there are sprays of droplets that touch the surface, it just lets the droplets roll off. If there's anything in the world which is disturbing us or agitating us or confusing us or leading us away from our true nature, which is only Sat Chit Anand, existence, consciousness, bliss. Anything in the world that touches us, like the droplets of water on a lotus leaf, Padmapatra mevam bhasa, let it roll off. Simple. Let it roll off. So this example sticks in the mind, and it's taken from the scriptures. I forget the name of this editor-in-chief. I had seen an interview of this gentleman long ago. He actually had an autistic son and a grown-up son who needed a lot of physical attention because he suffered from autism and had very little control over his limbs and mind. And later on in life, his wife fell very, very sick. She was almost bedridden. So now he had these two people in the house, and in one of the interviews, the interviewer asked him, "Does this not?" Arun Shuri, yes, thank you. Yes. Yes. So you may remember even the interview that I'm talking about. So Arun Shuri said, when the interviewer asked, "Does it not tire you? How do you deal with it?" Something like that she asked. And he said, "Deal with it? No. I am giving 50% of my time, and now after retirement, all my time I will give to these two people who are in my house, who are completely dependent on me, and I am okay with that because I have turned my work into seva." That means whatever I need to do to look after my bedridden wife and my autistic young man, the son, I just treat it like seva. There was just one switch in the mind which flipped, and he said, from the tedium of supporting people who are helpless to seva bhav, and he elevated the same work to a divine karma yoga level. Same work, whatever we are doing, can be elevated. You don't have to find work which is elevated. It's the mind which is elevated. So this example had stuck with me when I had seen the interview of Arun Shuri and the karma yoga, that divinizing work. How do you divinize work? That's how you do it. It is the seva of of the Lord. In fact, there's a real example of Swami Abedananji of Chinmaya Mission, who is currently posted in South Africa. He was visiting one of the homes, and again on Bhiksha, and he noticed that in the family of the householder, there was a child who was completely helpless, and I think also autistic, and very severely so. And being a Swami, can you believe it? He said, and he gave this example himself, so I'm not criticizing him. He said to the lady, आप इनको देख नहीं पाते हैं, इनका देखभाल कब तक करेंगे अभी, बिकॉज देयर मेनी इयर्स टू गो फॉर दिस चाइल्ड टू ग्रो अप इन दिस हेल्पलेस फैशन. आप इनको एक आश्रम में या अनाथ आश्रम में क्यों नहीं रख देते? And the reply of the mother, it stunned the Swami. Then he realized that even he was not thinking deep enough. The mother said, no, why? Because the Swami said, इनको अपने हाथ से खिलाना, नहलाना, पिलाना पड़ता है, कुछ अपने हाथ से नहीं कर पाते ये सब, ये बच्चा जो है, तो इतना मुश्किल है, कब तक करेंगे? And the mother said, this is my Krishna Lala. मेरे ये कृष्ण गोपाल हैं, और मैं इनको अपने हाथ से जब खिलाती हूँ, पिलाती हूँ, सुलाती हूँ, मुझे लगता है मैं कृष्ण की सेवा कर रही हूँ. So what had happened? She had divinized the same work which could have been turned into complete drudgery for many of us who did not know how to elevate our minds to that level of karma yoga. And this is a true example. And she said, मैं सिर्फ कृष्ण की सेवा कर रही हूँ, तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है, मैं अपने हाथ से जीवन भर करूँगी. And that's how work can be turned around. So like a lotus leaf. But remember, what is the opposite? When we are not detached. Detached meaning, मैं कर रहा हूँ, नहीं, मैं भगवान को अर्पण कर रहा हूँ. That is a detachment. But when we are completely attached and मैं कर रहा हूँ, ये मेरा है और इसका result और फल भी मेरा होगा, तब क्या होगा? The fear and the anxiety, when it sets in, it makes life miserable. The moment you disown the work, you do the work, of course, completely with all the love and devotion and excellence and refinement, like this mother was doing, and like Arun Shuri did, perfectly, with perfection. That perfection you offer to the Lord, and don't take the ownership of the work. That is Karma Yoga. And if you notice, even a doctor, if he has to operate on his wife or his child, he will desist from doing it. Why? Because his attachment makes him so anxious about the result. क्या होगा? मेरा हाथ कांपेगा. He has no control over what his emotions will make him do. And therefore, even a doctor, because of his attachment, is unable to perform, and he brings in his colleague and says, आप करो ये operation, मैं नहीं करूँगा. Imagine if it's a heart operation and you're a doctor and your son is on the operation table. The attachment which we have to this world is like that. When we are attached to this and that, ये मेरा है, ये relationships मेरे हैं, और ये possessions, and ये नाम, ये fame, ये और नाम रूप का तो पूछो ही मत. कोई लोग स्टेज पर आ जाते हैं और घमंड से कहते हैं, मेरा नाम इस तरह से स्पेल किया जाए, ये पोस्टर पर गलत स्पेलिंग लिखी हुई है. अरे why you announcing it so loudly? Sudha Murthy did it once actually on the podium. Why are you so attached to your name, naam, roop, saundarya? It is all nashwar anyway, and that attachment is causing you this ahankar. That ahankar is causing you the anger, the anxiety, the stress, the toil and the strain. So the doctor says, no, I cannot do it. Same way, we cannot live in the world without stress and strain and anxiety and disturbance. If we are attached, if we learn to let go, finished. Then nothing can touch us. That means lipyate nasa papena, koi paap yani no kind of bad result or anxiety of the mind can touch us. That's what is promised by Krishna right here in the 10th verse. Lipyate nasa papena. At least we should believe him. Krishna mein to shraddha rakhe, because he is saying, I can free you, and this is the road, this is the road map. आपको सिर्फ वो road map को लेकर हाथ में चलना है. That's all you need to do. Because why is it that attachment causes all this anxiety? Let's see number 11. कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये. Those yogis who have abandoned the attachment, how, in what manner do they do the actions? Are they are not contaminated by the actions. By contamination, what do we mean? It means that whatever action we do, we want the result of it and as mine. ये मेरा है. और वो सही नहीं हुआ तो वो frustration और disappointment भी मेरा ही हो जाता है. This is the contamination of action. अरे भाई एक्शन किया because it was needed, it was your duty and you completed it and बस भगवान को अर्पण कर दिया. It was needed, it was needed to be done because you have been placed in that position. Krishna is a charioteer, okay, by choice. Now he is not going to escape it and say that oh no, I made a mistake now, I'd rather have the kingdom of Hastinapur, I have all the divine powers, why don't I just grab the kingdom of Hastinapur, take the shortcut. Even Krishna, Christ, Muhammad, Ram, tell me which one of these have tried to deviate from their duty, and their life was not easy. Each one of these had a very tough life, and they did not desist. They did all their duties. So कहने का मतलब ये है कि अगर आप faithfully आप अपनी ड्यूटीज कर रहे हैं, and if you are the faithful and if you say that मैं तो बहुत ही faithful हूँ, I believe in God, इसका मतलब ये गारंटी नहीं है कि मैं भगवान में विश्वास और आस्था रखता हूँ, इसका मतलब मेरे लाइफ में अप्स एंड डाउन्स नहीं आएंगे, ट्रेजेडीज नहीं आएंगी. ये किसने कहा है? तब तो राम को भी फॉरेस्ट में नहीं जाना चाहिए था. एंड कृष्णा ऑल्सो शुडंट हैव बीन शॉट इन द लेग by an huntsman at the end of his life. He could have died a normal life of an old person, but he was killed. And of course he lost his kingdom also, Dwarka, and he had to move so many homes. Krishna's life by far has been full of more and more struggles. So from Vrindavan and Dwarka, and it's been the worst possible life. If you look at it from our point of view, Krishna said, I am not attached to it, I am okay with it. And Muhammad, definitely there was trouble in his life. There were non-believers. And Christ, the worst of all. Imagine dying such a painful death, and at the end of the punishment, he still says, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. But that's the bottom line. Everyone who is troubling you in life, or who is treating you badly, so-called, or who is being unfair to you, or telling lies and taking away your right, or taking away your credit, or discrediting you, or humiliating you, so-called, or showing you down, or humiliating, whatever anyone is doing, just listen to Jesus Christ. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. If they knew what they were doing and how foolish it was, why would they do it? They wouldn't. So forgive them. Great compassion. And yet their life, which was full of ups and downs and sorrow and tragedy, they just completed their duties. Okay. So there is no guarantee. And this was their glory. उनकी glory ही सिर्फ ये थी कि कर्म योग करना है. And that is the position I am in, and I will do it to my fullest capacity. And there is no guarantee कि faithful लोगों को there will be no tragedy which will touch them. But yes, एक चीज है, tragedy may touch them, but these people are those, and the faithful, other faithful people also, not just Krishna, Christ, Muhammad, and other Paigambars. Even those who are really faithful, one thing is different about them. Their glory is that going through all the ups and downs of life and all the turbulence, they still know, and they have found the secret of living through it with, as if in an oasis of silence. That was a beautiful term used yesterday, and I loved it. As if they are still in an oasis of silence, of equilibrium and balance. अब उस equilibrium और balance और silence को कोई छू के दिखाए? नहीं छू सकता, because it's deep within and it's inside of me. And if it's inside of me, then I should have control over it, na? Why do I hand over the controls to the world? That is unintelligent living. and then we get tossed about, and then we say कि हम सुख दुख से कैसे free होंगे, and the poster outside says come for the pravachan, you are going to be free from sukha dukha. Bottom line, you have to do the action and not the pravachan. Nor all the texts, nor all the scriptures in the world can make that change for you in the life. And in fact, Chinmaya ji used to say that when you're crushed in life, that's when your true nature emerges, or at least there is a potential there for your true nature to emerge. Just like he gave a beautiful example of sandalwood. Only when sandalwood is crushed, it leaves a fragrance on your fingers. So, when you go through hard times, when you go through so-called tough times, do not complain and crib and begrudge it to one God entity and say that I don't deserve it. Now, who are you to decide? Who are we to decide whether we deserve it or not? The cosmic principle has already decided in our prarabdha what we are going to deserve and in what measure and at what time is already fixed. So complaining and cribbing is only going to create more and more man ashuddhi and turbulence and regret. And so why create the man ashuddhi? Like become like the sandalwood. When it's crushed, it just leaves a fragrance and beauty around it in the room and the aroma. And so what does it mean? It means that whatever I am doing, and whatever I am doing will have its difficulties. It's no one has promised me, not even no Krishna, no God has ever promised anyone that if you believe in me, you will have a life without problems. Krishna himself did not have a life without problems. So the goal when we work and there are problems, just keep the goal in mind. And the goal is that I am here to purify my mind. And no, that's the objective actually. And from that objective will be my final goal of reaching my true nature, that Atma Tattva, that supreme consciousness, that ultimate truth. I cannot reach it because it's only a quiet mind which can be employed for any spiritual progress. So spiritual progress में अगर लगाना है तो वो mind अपना employable ही नहीं है, free ही नहीं है, engaged है, या it's full of encrusted with dust. So it cannot be employed for any other work. And if you say that any work that I do in my profession or in my ritual or in my speech, whatever it is, it's just to purify my mind. अच्छा, ऐसे कैसे होता है? तो एक बार स्वामी भूतेशानंद जी के आश्रम में again one young novice who turned up and he said कि स्वामी जी हमारी ड्यूटी आश्रम के ऑफिस में लगी हुई है, तो मैं अपने काम को डिविनाइज कैसे करूं? हाउ कैन आई मेक माई वर्क कर्म योग और डिवाइन? तो मैं क्या जप करता रहूं? कैन आई जस्ट कीप द जप ऑन माई लिप्स? तो स्वामी जी स्माइल्ड एंड ही सेड, क्या काम देखते हैं आप? ही सेड, मैं तो अकाउंट्स देखता हूँ आश्रम के ऑफिस में. एंड द लिटिल मंक सेड, सो स्वामी जी सेड, अगर आप जप करते रहेंगे तो मिस्टेक्स हो सकती हैं आपके अकाउंटिंग में. And how will you then keep a balance? So to divinize work is not that you have to do something physically like a ritual कि हम altar में बैठे हुए हैं और दिन भर. It is where you devote the work that you are doing. So that's why you will find Swamiji just gave him a small tip and he said, before you start your work, young man, whatever accounting you are doing, just pray. Just say, oh Lord, I dedicate this to you. And I am now doing this work for you, not for myself. And I just completely, when you surrender your mind then becomes so sharp and so efficient that you perform much better. And once you finish that work, once again pray to the Lord and say, I dedicate this work to you. Shri Krishnarpanam Astu. The moment you say that, Shri Krishnarpanam Astu, you have already surrendered the fruit of action also. अब मैंने तो अपना बेस्ट दे दिया है, अब उसमें से जो आए जो न आए भैया भगवान आपकी मर्जी, एंड आई हैव डन माई बेस्ट. और जो भी उससे परिणाम आएगा मैं सर आँखों पर खुशी से प्रसाद की तरह उसको अपना लूँगा. जस्ट दैट. स्वामी जी टोल्ड हिम, जस्ट डू दैट. So whether you're an accountant or a clerk or a prime minister, it doesn't matter. It's just that you are surrendering the act and its fruit. Act meaning the desire and the fruit of action to some entity. अगर भक्त हैं तो इष्ट देवता को दे दें, अगर ज्ञान के दृश्य से देख रहे हैं तो यू कैन से दैट मैं तो करता हूं ही नहीं, तो फिर करता है कौन? तो ये आगे देखते हैं. Actually, this comes in the 9th one. I am not the actor. Okay, but I will move to number 12. युक्त कर्म फलम त्यक्त्वा शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम् अयुक्त कामकारेण फले सक्तो निबध्यते. युक्त कर्म फलम त्यक्त्वा. Actually, there is only one simple trick to be done, and Krishna Bhagavan is repeating it over and over and over again. He probably knows Arjun is like us. We can't retain the idea long enough. We just rush out into the world and forget what Krishna had said. And it's like an unflickering flame in the temple, and the moment we step out into the sansar, at the very step of the temple, that flickering flame of knowledge, so-called, is blown out. So again Bhagavan is repeating again. He's saying, अरे कर्म योग युक्तः, कर्म योगी जो है वो कर्म के फल को त्याग देता है. कर्म फलम त्यक्त्वा. Only one simple action. कर्म फल को आपने त्याग दिया तो मिलेगा क्या इससे? तो वही कहते हैं फर्स्ट लाइन में, शांति मापनोति नैष्ठिकीम. आपको शांति मिलेगी. अब लेकिन हमको शांति तो हर चीज से चाहिए. हम डिजायर्स ही इसलिए पालते हैं कि हमको वो डिजायर्ड ऑब्जेक्ट या एक्सपीरियंस या रिलेशनशिप या पर्सन, वस्तु, व्यक्ति, परिस्थिति जो भी मिल जाए मेरे डिजायर्ड, तो मुझे शांति मिलेगी. हमको ऐसा लगता है कि हमको बाहर से मिलेगी, एंड दैट इज, and we are disappointed because it lasts a very short while, that so called shanti. You cannot get peace in this world if you are chasing the world with desire, because it is the very desire which is causing the ashanti. घर में बैठा हुआ है बगलर, थीफ, चोर, और आप कह रहे हैं कि हम उपनिषद पढ़ेंगे, गीता पढ़ेंगे, बाहर से ज्ञान ले आएंगे. बाहर से कुछ नहीं आने वाला है. फर्स्ट वी हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई दैट दिस डिजायर इज कॉजिंग अशांति, और हम कह रहे हैं कि शांति की खोज में हम उस हर डिजायर को फुलफिल करने में लगे हुए हैं. सो इन अमेरिकन लैंग्वेज दे से क्लीन अप योर एक्ट फर्स्ट. अमेरिकन कहते हैं क्लीन अप योर एक्ट फर्स्ट, यानी पहले अपने अंदर तो झांक के देखो कि what you're chasing is causing you the अशांति. और जय कृष्ण मूर्ति इसी को कहते थे, put your own house in order first before you reach out to looking for shanti. Put your own house in order. उसके लिए एक लोअर लेवल पर अशांति होती है हमको. कब? आपने नोटिस किया होगा कि जब हम किसी को ठीक से ट्रीट नहीं करते, या किसी को if we have not done the right thing by someone, even in the slightest possible way, not been sincere enough, not given him their due, or taken away something that was theirs, or kept a secret from them which they should have known, or simply desired to have their companionship, or some kind of to get something from them. I got into a relationship because I needed something from them. Actually, all relationships are need based, that we don't realize, and therefore there's so much of undercurrents of turbulence, because each of them are trying to fulfill their own specific needs through each one of these relationships. And needs differ. किसी की नीड स्पिरिचुअल हो सकती है, किसी की सेंशुअल हो सकती है, किसी की मटेरियल, सोशल, कि मुझे सोशल स्टेटस चाहिए, तो whatever. All our needs are different, and when these needs clash, all relationships crack up, and they become fragile. So जब हम किसी से सही व्यवहार नहीं कर पाते, तब सबसे ज़्यादा अशांति हमारे मन में खुद होती है. This you must have noticed. Kyunki that is why at the lowest level अष्टांग योग has said that first of all आप आसन में या ध्यान में बैठने से पहले सबसे पहले आपको यम और नियम करना होगा. यम और नियम में आता है झूठ ना बोलना, किसी का एडवांटेज ना लेना, नॉट टू बी न दंभ न दर्प, यानी नॉट बीइंग हिपोक्रिटिकल, not trying to take advantage, not being putting up a facade. If you are hypocritical or lying or cheating, it's all going to not lead you to the next step of Ashtanga Yoga, which is asana and pranayam. Of course, mechanically we can do all the meditation and pranayam and asan, whatever mechanically हो रहा है. हम मन की level की बात कर रहे हैं. You cannot even reach that level unless, इसलिए सबसे पहले अष्टांग योग में यम नियम बोला है. If you drop all the hypocrisy, दंभ दर्प अस्तेय and all these hypocrisies and lies and just become natural and be sort of unpretentious and true and simple, arjavam, then only you can go to the next step. So all these things are causing us our own unhappiness in the world. But you will notice that you may say that नहीं हम ये सब चीजें तो नहीं करते. I don't manipulate people, I don't tell even these small little lies or to take advantage or have hypocritical, या अपने मिथ्या अहंकार में नहीं रहते हैं. Okay, good, if we have been able to watch ourselves at those levels, no मिथ्या अहंकार and all good, but still I am unhappy. अशांत मेरा मन फिर भी है. तो वही तो बताया था कि वो सेकंड स्टेप में, क्योंकि हमारे डिजायर्स फिर भी हैं. हमने एक स्टेप को कॉन्कर कर लिया, सेकंड स्टेप में हमारे डिजायर्स आर चेजिंग अस आउट इनटू द वर्ल्ड एंड देयरफॉर अगेन अशांति. तो कैन आई डेडिकेट माय वर्क, my professional, my personal, and everything in the world just to God and say, I'm not the owner, I'm just the doer. Actually, you're not even the doer. If you see at the highest level, it's a man body which is doing the actions. You are not touched by it. You as Atma, which means what? Are you mortal or immortal? I am mortal or immortal? Both. In my body and my mind and my intellect, I am mortal. It will be dead. It will be gone. I am immortal in Atma. So there's one level at which nothing can touch us. But we have not reached that level, that depth. And therefore we flap around on the surface of life saying, why is life troubling me so much? Sansar is not going to change. संसार का अपना एक प्रकृति, एक नियम, एक स्वभाव है. How will it change? Not with all the complaining and wailing and shouting and weeping and lamenting. Nothing will change outside. Nothing outside will change. There's only one change we can make, and that's inside. So, and if you are not a yogi, ayukta kamakarena, then all this restlessness and anxiety and complaining and comparing, that will be your phal, that will be your fruit. It's in the second line. Phale sakto nibhadyate. So we are trapped. We are trapped. Because if we are not behaving in the true yogi spirit of karma yoga, ayukta kamakarena, acting out of desires, then phale sakto nibhadyate. I am trapped in the negative reactions of my own action. तब हम किस भगवान को ब्लेम कर रहे हैं? भगवान ये आपने क्या किया मेरे साथ? मेरे साथ हमने अपने आप किया है, अपने साथ किया है. The mind, the way you treat your mind is what the mind will do to you. If not in this life, then in the future lives, we are only collecting the baggage of karma phala. We are doing karma, but karma phala, we are collecting big baggage. Okay, number 13. And the ones who see the Supreme Being, they are sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi. The one who is completely vashi, अपने वश में है, अपने को self restrain करना जानता है, which means that he is able to restrain not only the senses but the mind and the desires, then such a person lives in joy, sukham vashi. Even the formula is not very complicated, it's a simple formula. The degree of self control is the degree of happiness, equal to, बीच में equal to लगा दो, simple formula. So you cannot escape from sansar. That is not the idea of either sannyas or of karma yoga. But you can escape from that notion in your head. There's a notion in my head that, and there is a metaphor used here from the Upanishads, that I am this city of 9 gates. 9 gates means there are 9 openings, nine orifices, apertures in our body. It's just a metaphor for body. And I am this city of 9 gates. मैं ये हूँ, ये body हूँ. ये metaphor, and I am attached to this city of 9 gates. So this city of 9 gates, अगर हम समझते हैं कि हम ही हैं, then वश में कैसे रहेंगे? Because then you are letting in all the, then everything attaches to the body, you know, the physical discomforts, the mental sukh and dukha, and everything attaches to it easily. But the moment you say ki, oh, I don't think I am just this Navadware Pure, I am not this Pura. Pura means city, Nagpur, Kanpur, Pur. Navadware, 9 openings का, 9 gates का द्वार हूँ, देही, मैं ये देही तो नहीं हूँ. Then you say, okay, then I can have the freedom. I can have the freedom and the control over my senses. But most of the senses, and all the senses are driving us out anyway. What about taste, touch? What about the tongue? The tongue is actually dealing with 2 things in which we become very immoderate. Just a diversion. The tongue is leading us to two kinds of hell: taste and talk. We sometimes talk too much, or talk irrelevantly, or talk badly, or talk humiliatingly, or talk viciously. Why do we need to do all this? Because in our scriptures it is said, speak only if you can speak in 3 ways. Satyam vada, if you can speak only the truth. If you have to speak a lie about anything, अरे मैं तो वहाँ थी ही नहीं तो मैं आपको कॉल नहीं कर पाई. Why? The mind notices and puts it in your record that you have spoken a lie, no matter how innocuous and how innocent and how harmless that lie may seem to you at that point. Oh, a lie always seems innocent to us, but you cannot imagine the extent of the damage it does in terms of our karmic baggage. Satyam vada, if you cannot speak the truth, be silent. Hitam vada, speak only if it is in the hita or it is in the interest of other people, so that it can help someone in some way. It can support someone. Speak supportingly. Hitam vada, otherwise don't speak. And priyam vada, if you have to say something nasty or something not really nasty, I mean something that is harsh and it has to be known by a friend, then say it in a sweet way. Priyam vada, satyam vada, hitam vada, priyam vada. There are only 3 ways in which the speech should be used. If not, then practice Maun. Once in a week, why don't we do Maun Vrat? Okay, so we are not able to restrain ourselves because we are led away by this Navadware Pure, this city of 9 gates. So it is in our capacity to control the future, although we are in the grip of the past, because our past actions we cannot control, but we are free to change our future right now, right here, through Karma Yoga. And that's how we will continue next time. I'm just sparing a